Good day, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be discussing Loki episode 3. Um, this episode didn't have a lot of Easter eggs really, but we got a few big reveals this episode. So I'll stick to the main reveals because there was no Easter eggs that I could point out that I recognized off the bat. Yeah, let's get into it. So of course the episode starts off with Sylvie, and we get confirmation on her name this episode. It is Sylvie. Um, Trying to interrogate C20, I believe, the TVA member, and we see her in her mind basically trying to portray this aspect of being a friend that she knew from a long time, and we see she's basically trying to figure out where the timekeepers are by doing this. So we see them sitting in a restaurant, and it goes from day to light. We also hear Sophie mention something about freezing, so reference to frost giants, of course. And then we cut out of the memory and we see what's actually going on. And this is like right before the TV entered the store in the last app, and we see Sylvie using her in powers on C20's mind. We then cut directly back now into this episode where the last one ended, and that was the Minutemen rushing out to stop the distortions in time. And we see Sophie, or not Sophie, sorry, Sylvie, um, pop out of the vortex or the portal or whatever the Minutemen call it. I don't know if we got a name for what they call it, but she pops out and she's in the TV, and we see that she tries to sneak up on her and use her powers, and it doesn't work. So of course we know powers don't work in there. So confirmation again that her mind powers didn't work. So she decides to fight off the guards and she disintegrates them with their baton that they use. We then cut to Loki popping out now because he was chasing her. So he pops out, and we basically get more of Sylvie kind of defeating more Minutemen, disintegrating them, beating them up. And she's at the elevator door, it seems. And Loki shows up with his two daggers. So it seems he went back to the vault and got his daggers. So they have a back and forth fight, and it seems Loki has the upper hand. But then it comes to a stalemate after she gets the upper hand, and then we see the TVA member, I forgot her name, I think it's C28, the leader then, who is the judge. She and two other TVA or Minutemen show up, and they try to stop the two Lokis. But this is or this is at least where Sylvie gets the upper hand on our Loki, and she puts her dagger to his knife and she threatens to kill him. And of course, the judge says, "Well, okay, that's not really anything bad for us, so go ahead." And this leads to Loki and having a little scuffle, and he opens one of the portals. Again, I don't know what the official name is, what the Minutemen use for it, but he uses the device and they fall through into this random area, and the device falls on the floor. And when it falls on the floor, we see the two Lokis crash here. And of course, Sylvie picks it up and sees that the battery is zero, so the battery is dead. They can't just teleport out of here anymore. And then we cut to the title card now for this planet we're there, and it is Lamentus 1, and they're in the year 2077. So they jumped way ahead into the future, and basically this will, or where they jump to at least, is an apocalyptic time again. Um, and what is happening here is this world and this moon is going to collide. So the moon is kind of falling down like a meteor shower. So yeah, Loki and Sylvie try to get some sense of figuring out what they're going to do. We see while they're outside, parts of the moon start coming down like a mini meteor shower then, and they take cover under one of these giant trucks. Um, they eventually make it into a mining shaft, and Sylvie goes up to Loki and holds his neck here, and it is basically her trying to use her power on Loki to overtake him, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And basically we figure out that his mind, or he says his mind is too strong for this, so her power wouldn't work on him. We then cut to them after this little incident here. They have a discussion trying to figure out what they're gonna do. Loki hides the gauntlet. I forgot the name of it. He hides it with his magic, and he tells her he has it in his heart, I believe. um, so yeah, we then cut to them walking outside, and they're trying to find out where they're going to go next. Um, so we see them off in the distance, and they walk into this old abandoned destroyed town. And here is where they start trying to one up each other slightly, because we see Sylvie walks up to a neon sign and she's like, okay, we could charge the device here. Um, and she asks Loki for it, and he's like, no, I don't trust you. And then we get that, you really can't charge it with that. You need a stronger power than that to charge it. So they're trying to subtly one up each other to get the device. Um, so yeah, this then leads to them walking across the desert again, or the deserted area, and they come across this shack, and it seems that there's this old lady in it. And Sylvie tries to go into it, and the old lady blasts her with her gun. And Loki tries to disguise himself as the old lady's husband, and she blasts him because she's like, my husband doesn't speak to me that nice. And so Loki gets blasted. And eventually they just leave the lady because the lady doesn't want to leave. So she's gonna stay there and die, I guess. And we then see Loki and Sylvie again walking to the ship that is escorting people away to get them out of this. And we see Loki has the bright idea now because he tells Sylvie, let me use the plan this time. And this leads to him coming up with the idea to dress as a TVA in their uniform and take Sylvie as maybe a prisoner or something to that effect. Because we see he's holding her hand behind her back. They get on the ship, and one of the guys asks for their tickets. Of course, they don't have a ticket. They don't know what the ticket looks like. But this is where Sylvie's power comes in handy. Sylvie kinda uses her mind voodoo magic to trick or turn the guard, which leads to them getting on the ship basically. And it leads to now the second reveal in the series. The first being Sylvie's name is Sylvie. She is a Loki, she's a variant. She changed her name to Sylvie to be different. So that is the first major reveal. Second major reveal now comes when both of them sit down when they get into the ship. And that is, it seems that both of them are bi. So that is the next big reveal because they begin speaking about love, and she asks our Loki if he's ever loved someone or had someone, a prince or a princess, in line for him to get married to, and he hints at it being yes, but also no. Um, so yeah, they kind of share stories about each other, and their, I guess, universe's parents and how they were brought up. So kind of communicating and getting to know each other. We then see Loki shows her the trick with the fireworks that his mom taught him when he was small. Um, so yeah, a kind of touching moment there. And then Sylvie falls asleep. And then Sylvie. So I probably mistake it more than once in this video, my bad. But she wakes up, she sees Loki's drunk, partying, singing folk songs from Asgard with the people. And this leads to someone there kinda maybe seeing that this isn't what it's supposed to be. And this leads to the Minutemen or the TVA coming after Loki and her again in here. And that leads to a fight, or a bar brawl I would call it. And Sylvie takes out her crown and uses it as a weapon. Loki uses his little daggers and his hands. And he's drunk, of course, or full, as he says. He tries to save Sylvie with her dagger. He pelts it and he misses. And she slams one of the guys' head into it, so she gets away. And while Loki is rejoicing because he threw someone through a window, the men hold him and throw him through the window. And this leads to him falling and rolling down a hill, kinda. And then Sylvie, of course, has to follow him because he has the gauntlet thingy for the different dimensions and time and all of that. So this is where it gets interesting though. So we see Loki shows her it's broken and she kind of gets angry, has a little temper tantrum, and then he sits with her and they come up with this plan. And the plan is basically in this universe, or this timeline, the Ark, which is the ship taking the people away from here, never leaves. But if they could get on the ship and they could change that, they would escape. So kinda the plan they're going with now. So they decide to walk to the Ark, and then we get to this beautiful neon city that they're in. It's really nice. The background is nice. The CGI is nice. Um, and here's where we get a long one takes it seems throughout this, so that's pretty cool. So they see the guards are kind of stopping the citizens from getting into by the Ark. So Loki, not Loki, Loki, Loki and Sylvie decide they're going to try to get there. So they go on trying to cut around the crowd and go to the back to get to them. And in doing so again, they run into more guards trying to stop people. And while doing all of that as well, we get a close up at the moon and we see the moon is cracked open and then meteors are falling. So more chaos. And this leads to a lot of mini fights then, I guess, with Loki and Sylvie versus the guards, taking them out and all of that. And we get a unique scene here where one of the buildings was falling and Loki uses his magic and stops it and pushes it back up. But we've never seen Loki use that kind of magic before. So is it a stone that he has with him? I've seen a lot of people say maybe it's a time stone. I doubt it, but that's interesting to note. Um, we then get them basically getting to the entrance for the Ark, and then we see the Ark collapses. It explodes. A piece of asteroid from the moon hit it, and we then see Loki and Sylvie looking at it, and they're like, "Oh!" And Loki is in shock, and Sylvie's just like, "Damn it!" And she walks off, and the episode ends there. Um, so yeah, not much Easter eggs in this episode, but the other big reveal in this episode would have to be that Sylvie taught, or Sylvie taught herself this magic to mess with your mind, because Loki asked her how she learned it and she said she taught herself. So to everyone who thought this was going to be Enchantress, because the designs were connected and the name to an Enchantress like story in the comics, um, it is Loki. It is Lady Loki. Um, she just changed her name to Sylvie. We'll go with Sylvie. But um, yeah, she changed her name. So that's the next big reveal. So she is Loki. She's a variant. Um, lastly, the other big reveal that came out of this episode is Sylvie mentions to Loki at an earlier point in the episode that C20 was working or was on Earth before the TVA brought her into the TVA. And that leads to the revelation that the TVA is made up of variants. So variants are not supposed to be there. So there's something behind the scenes going on. So basically, the good guys are starting to look like bad guys, and the bad guys are starting to kind of look like good guys. Uh, so yeah, we need to get more information on that. But essentially, like I said, that was the only big reviews this episode. So the TVA is run and made up of variants from different timelines and universes. Um, so yeah, that's all the big reviews I could spot in this episode. If I missed anything, leave it down below. Also, if you're new here, consider hitting the subscribe button. Also, there should be a playlist right here or right here with the rest of the reviews for episode 1 and 2 somewhere here. So yeah, feel free to check those out. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.